how did you decide to leave a stable, respectable job that allowed you all of the normal life things that most people would like to land in a job? An orthopedic nurse in a clinic that you liked and respected, to become a full-time professional coach instead? Because I can imagine many people would think that you're foolish for even thinking about that, much less doing it.
I think knowing it was not what I wanted to do for the next 20 years of my life. Even the surgeon that I worked with, that I have a ton of respect for, was like, you can't do this forever.
Because he recognized that you didn't like it, or what?
He just honestly said, was like, you're a go-getter and this isn't going to be enough.
That's interesting.
You either need to go back to school or just find something in nursing, because this is only going to go, like, this isn't going to go anywhere else.
So how did you get here? Because I understood, I don't know a lot about the first half of your life, but I do understand that fitness and health and coaching were an interest and a passion of yours for quite some time. You owned a gym at one point.
Yes.
How did you go from owning a gym to deciding that you were going to go all in on an orthopedic nursing career?
So I owned a gym for 5 years. In 2020, like right in the middle of the COVID stuff, lease was up. Gym was not honestly doing that great. And I really wanted out in some ways, because I felt like this is not, well, I love coaching. I'm not making a good enough living. I'm struggling.
Was a common story for gym owners, eh?
Yes. I think I felt sometimes like I was more of a social director of a community than a coach sometimes. And I struggled to make it work, honestly. So when COVID came, the gym was closed, lease was up. I was like, this is the time to get out of this.
Okay. So in other words, to not mince any words, the gym did not turn out how you wanted it to turn out.
No.
Like, it didn't do for you and the people that you wanted to help what you hoped it might, and you decided to close it.
Yes.
What happened then?
So, I mean, I was always interested in medicine and healthcare. I think I liked the education side of it, the fact I could still help people. I felt like maybe this is more, I'll actually have, a title and education and everything, and be able to help people in a different way. So actually, before I closed the gym, I was taking anatomy at community college, because I felt like I haven't been in school in forever.
But
I'm
you
going to
like
take
school,
one class.
You like academics.
I do. Yeah. So I really liked it. So I was like, I think also at that point, I wanted the security of, like, knowing I'm going to get a paycheck, having health insurance.
It's a big one for a lot of people, right? I know a lot of people who decide to become nurses because they like the idea of helping people in general. Yeah. And by many measures, nursing is the kind of job that people can at least chip in to doing, to supporting a life or a family that they want in whatever way they want, right? Like, that's a big part of why people do that.
Yeah.
So that was a big driving factor for you after the gym?
It was.
Okay.
I think, the gym was a struggle, and I felt like I don't want to do this anymore. Like, the uncertainty of, am I going to have enough money to buy groceries this week? So I wanted the security. And then I felt like I can go on, I can become a nurse practitioner. I can become a provider. There's things I can do besides just being a nurse.
Why the interest in medicine? What was it about medicine that interested you?
I had done some work prior to owning the gym, I worked for the YMCA. And actually, that's when I got into fitness. And so I actually ran their cancer survivor program, started that at the Y in Kansas City, which actually was all doctor referrals, and it was exercise for cancer survivors. So I loved that. And I think, the opportunity to help people, but also to go further than what I could do as a coach, or I felt like I could do. As a coach and gym owner, you have people coming in that have, whether it's like chronic disease, they've got diabetes or high blood pressure, and then injuries and things like that you feel like I can't really help these people. And so I felt like, I feel like I could do more maybe as a nurse.
Okay. So you're, at this point, what are you doing? You're in school part-time?
Like after I closed the gym?
Yep.
So I didn't know for sure what I wanted to do. I wanted to go to PA school initially, so I worked as a scribe, and I worked for the surgeon that I.
All right, so you have a full-time job in the medical field now as a scribe, and you're going to school.
Yes.
Okay. And nursing school took you 2 years, 3 years?
It took me, I already had a bachelor's degree, so it's accelerated, so it took 1 year.
1 year, great. And then did you just go right to that orthopedic clinic that you were working in, or you had
you
bounced around a little?
No, I actually went to oncology ICU.
Okay.
At like the biggest teaching hospital in Kansas City. So I felt like that was going to be.
It was a good gig.
It was, yeah.
And you did that for how long? How long were you nursing altogether before you decided that you wanted to change that again?
Like 2 years.
You were nursing for 2 years, and then you decided I have to change something.
Yes.
Okay. That's a pretty fast turnaround.
It was.
Especially because you didn't dislike the work. It was just dissatisfying to you in a certain way.
Yeah, I think once I got to the ortho clinic, I really enjoyed that because I think I had my background in exercise.
Right.
I enjoyed everything that I learned from surgeons and all of that. But yeah, you feel like there's so many people that I could help in a different way, but they're just continuing to come in and get cortisone injections or
surgeries.
Get surgery, and it's not actually helping them. And
well, I mean, I imagine we would both agree that if someone is at the point where they literally can't bear any weight on their leg because of how degenerated their hip is, at that point, maybe a hip replacement is a reasonable idea.
Sure.
But I imagine what you're describing is, what could you do to the population at large so that they wouldn't need a surgery in the first place?
Yes.
Is that what you're describing?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think, even with the other side of nursing, being in the hospital, it's still so much chronic disease and things where you feel like I could really help people to not get to this place at all.
So you started to see these people, and you thought, these are the kinds of people that I would like to help, but in a different way than I am responding to or reacting to what they're coming in with already this far down the road.
Yes.
How long had you been thinking about that before you decided, I actually think I'm going to change the work that I'm doing here? How did that start to occur to you? How long was it in the 2 years?
I don't know. It was definitely when I got to the ortho clinic, so probably a year or so into nursing. And I had followed active life for a long time since I owned the CrossFit gym.
Right.
Yeah. So I just kind of kept. It's like I really got away from coaching, and then it just kind of kept creeping back in. And
well, there's a part of you that you had always wanted to be fulfilling more, but it sounds like for one reason or another, you weren't ever really capable of, or you weren't ever really in the environment conducive to you fully expressing yourself as a coach.
Yeah.
Is that accurate to say? Between the gym and the responsibilities that you had to take on as a gym, and what the gym never was for you. In addition to at the YMCA, I imagine there were certain constraints that prevented you from coaching people as completely as you wanted to, because you had certain responsibilities.
Yes.
And then in the ortho clinic, it just wasn't your job to be a coach.
Right. Yeah.
So coaching was always something that was in the background for you.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd always wanted to, since I got a personal training certification in 2009 or something, working at the Y, I'd always wanted to make that a career. And it was to some extent at the Y too, but then I fell into the track of fitness director. That was going really well because I started this cancer survivor program. And so I was doing a lot of work I wasn't, in a sense, getting paid for. And I fell into the trap of, now you're kind of this rising star, you should move up. So I became an associate executive director. So now I'm managing the largest Y in Kansas City, which is
it's pretty good.
A lot more than just
coaching.
Not just, but yeah, it's not just fitness. It's all kinds of other stuff.
So if I understand, the last I checked from you, push back on this if I'm wrong, but right now, coaching is your career. It's your livelihood, correct?
Correct.
You're not dabbling. You're doing it.
Yeah.
Right now, you're working as a full-time professional coach, out earning what you were doing as a nurse, and you're doing it in less time.
Yes.
Was it scary to think about leaving nursing to do this?
Yeah, it was very scary.
How did you get to the point where you decided, shit, I'm actually going to do this?
I think I needed evidence that it might work. And as I started to get some of that evidence, I started to feel like, okay, maybe I could do this.
Well, what's interesting is, as we talked about before this, like, you are going to be evidence for people. Like, what was the evidence for you that made you say, this might be a halfway decent idea?
I mean, I think just initially I started to get clients because I had 0 clients when I first started.
Oh, I see.
So
because you held on to nursing while you were developing your coaching business.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I was, at first at the ortho clinic, 8 to 5, 8 to 6. So the only time I could coach in-person clients was after work or on the weekends. So once I got a couple of clients, and then it's like, I literally can't take on any more clients because there are only so many hours
right.
after 6 o'clock at night. Mm-hmm. And so you start to have more people interested, and you have to say no because there's no time.
I see.
So then I still wasn't ready to, like, I'm just going to quit. So I
want to make sure everyone sees what you did here, because this was the place where you started to really see firm ground to stand on, where it could be a real thing. You, like many people that might listen to this who have a nursing job or any stable career that would seem foolish to just let go of, you had a stable nursing career that you were working 4/10s, right?
At the ortho clinic, I was 5 days.
5 days.
8 hours.
Okay, so 9 to 5,
yeah.
Monday to Friday. And what you started to do was, after work on the weekdays, and then maybe on the weekends here and there, you had all the clients that you can fit responsibly while still staying healthy.
Yeah.
And you had enough there that you realized, what, this is real?
I realized something has to change. Either I need to really take some bigger steps and make this, give this a real chance at working, or I need to do something else with nursing, which is, I was accepted to nurse practitioner
school, right?
Yeah, and I was going to quit ALP.
So this is a crazy fork in the road. So you were halfway through a 13-month mentorship to become the kind of coach that you were wanting to be, and you have a stable nursing job that's paying you well. You're admitted to nurse practitioner school, where you're going to matriculate up through levels of what you can do in medicine that way. You'd probably get paid a little bit more. Yeah. You'd have another credential to hang on the wall, and you'd have even more autonomy over how you'd be able to help people as a medical provider. And you have a growing coaching business that has legs, and you're at the fork in the road where you decide, am I going to continue to grow as a medical provider, or am I going to abandon being a medical provider and go all in on being a coach? How did you make that decision?
I think I had some conversations with you that
helped.
helped.
We had one or two.
Yeah.
But aside from the conversation that we had, I think I'm curious what occurred to you that allowed you to realize what the right idea for you was. How did you end up choosing coaching over nursing?
Ultimately, it was listening to, I think, to my gut, and to realizing that what I felt about going on to nurse practitioner school was honestly kind of a feeling of dread. And I enjoyed coaching, and I felt like, especially being in ALP and starting to get more involved, you can see that other people are successful. And so, and then you have the little bit of that success where it's like, okay, maybe if I took a bigger chance here, I could make this work.
What was the biggest challenge for you in facing what your gut was telling you and acting on it?
I think hearing, and maybe rightfully so, but a lot of people around me, family, people I worked with, are like, what do you mean you want to go back to coaching? Like, you owned a gym, you've been in that world, and now you have this job that pays fairly decent, you have all these opportunities. Why would you give that up to go back to try and run your own business? So your gut was calling you in a certain direction. You knew in your heart that it was the right thing for you to do. And on the other hand, you had the people that were in your closest sphere of influence rather incredulous about why you would decide to choose coaching over a stable medical profession. How did you decide to act in the direction of your gut in spite of what other people was telling you seemed foolish? I don't know. I just kept coming back to what I wanted to do was to coach, and it felt like what I was learning with ALP was what it would take to make it.
What do you mean? What you were learning was what it would take? What parts of it seemed like it was what you most needed?
I think the skills to work with the people that I really
You mean just the technical
wanted
skills
to work with, but also obviously there was, particularly for me, maybe a lot of personal development in there.
What were some of the big ones for you?
There's a lot of it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Hey, you and I both.
just I think even some ways just believing in myself, the language that I used to talk, whether it's about myself or talk to clients, to other people.
Say more on that. So what are some big language changes that you found yourself making that helped you?
I think, all the things that we kind of talk about with like that victim language and things like that, self-talk that's not conducive to going and doing big things or to leading people.
Is there an example you can think of that has become a mainstay, something that you have been very intentional about excising from your speech?
Maybe getting rid of some of getting rid of the soft talk and the just and
so words like maybe, for
yes,
example.
maybe that I just
What have you started doing instead?
using more now I'm saying
Hey, is a huge one I'm trying to get rid of also.
Using more like definitive language, being sure of what I'm saying, and instead of like I'm going to try to do this, that I am going to do this.
And that's affected the way that you see and talk to yourself and believe?
Yeah.
So there was a decision that you were going to start talking to yourself in a way that someone who believed in themselves would talk.
Yes.
And you started to notice a difference in how you believed in yourself. What's very impressive about that to me is I'm always impressed by people who have chosen to believe in themselves and what they were after in the middle of people who don't see or believe the same things that they do. What was the hardest part about that?
Can you say that again?
Yeah. What was the hardest part about you choosing to believe in yourself and go in the direction of your gut in the face of people close to you, failing to understand why you would do that and challenging your decision to do it?
It's hard to feel that people around you may not see the vision that you have, or maybe uncertain that you could actually make that work. I think knowing that's what I wanted and starting again to see that it felt possible. Also, I will say that as I started to have a success, I think that people around me started to go, okay.
Oh yeah, I bet.
Maybe this
Listen,
this could work.
I was going to ask you that next. I was going to say that I imagine they're singing a different tune now.
Yes.
Hey, it's Dr. Sean here reminding you that if you are a coach who wants to fill the gap neglected by fitness and healthcare, and you want to make a career doing it, we might be able to help you. Head to the show notes. There's a link there. You're going to click that link to download the ALP curriculum. That's the stuff that we teach to coaches over the course of 13 months to turn them into world-class professionals who never have to worry about missing a paycheck again, doing work they love to do. Go ahead and check that out, and I'll see you on the other side. Let's get you back to the show.
What do they say now?
Now they're excited for me. Whether it's my partner, I've gotten clients and referrals from people that before were like, I don't know that you should be
That's
doing
so powerful.
this. Even the surgeon that I worked for that helped me get into NP school, that was like, we had some good conversations where he was like, I think it's a great idea, but I just don't know that you can make money as a coach. Being able to go back and meet with him and really have a solid vision for what I'm doing and have him be willing to send referrals and be excited for it and start telling, his colleagues and things like that. I think, it all kind of came around.
What were some of your biggest fears as you actually started to see momentum in the direction that you wanted?
It's still a fear that it will somehow not continue to
Rug's
work out.
Just gonna get pulled out.
Yeah, all my clients will quit tomorrow, and I'll have to go back to nursing, and then everyone will be like, "Oh, okay, see,
interesting.
We knew that was going to happen."
But so far, I mean, you're 15 months in, 16 months?
I think it's actually now March is 2 years.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're 2 years in, and I imagine that your schedule, your income, the work you're doing is relatively stable.
Yes.
Okay. So the evidence is mounting. Is the fear that the rug's going to get pulled out getting weaker at all month after month?
It does.
Okay.
A little
So
bit.
it's starting to become more sure that this is going to carry you and you can turn it into whatever you want.
It is.
That's
yeah.
cool. What do you do when you start to experience fear around or doubt around how it's going? Is there a way that you have learned to respond to that that's helpful to you?
I think a few things. Sometimes it's talking to somebody else. I also am a RX client, so I have a active life coach. So I've leaned on sharing some of that with Chris, sometimes with Mark, who's my mentor. But I think too, just what really helps is if I feel stuck or like, maybe this is not going to continue the way I want it to, is taking action, which could be talking to somebody else in ALP, and it could just be, reaching out and talking to potential clients, setting up a seminar or something like that. It feels often to me like taking action kind of takes away some of that fear.
One thing that I've noticed about you that's very impressive is up front, you had a lot of fear and self-doubt. On the other side of you deciding to do what you said you wanted to do, you have taken rather expedient action in large quantities. And I think it's interesting to see that your action is creating the confidence that you wanted to have. Have you found in your experience that the action you've taken is exactly how you've gotten the confidence? Because I think we all want to feel confident, but it's hard to talk yourself into feeling confident if you still don't believe you can do the thing.
Yeah, it's definitely been. I mean, I think even when I first started, I felt like I'm going to just start this and I have a job, so I'll just start the ALP, the curriculum, and go through 6 months or so and not even worry about getting clients. And I kind of came to a point where I, like, early on needed clients, and you and Mark pushed me to, like, it doesn't matter that you started a month ago, you can get a client now. And I ended up with 2 remote clients. So yeah, I think the proof that you don't have to just wait until you feel ready, because you're not ever necessarily going to feel ready. So you just have to take the action. I mean, the whole time it's been imperfect. It's been a garage gym that really started out as just a garage. It's been working in the hospital, so I switched to 3 12-hour shifts to be able to make it work, to coach more often. But then the in-person clients I basically every week, or like as I got my monthly schedule, I had to set a schedule with them. So it'd be like, this week you're Tuesday, Thursday, and next week you're Tuesday, Friday. How
did you manage that? Did you just let them know up front, look, this is how it's going to work as I'm making this transition?
And I mean, all the things that I told myself, like, nobody's going to pay money for that, and nobody's going to see value in coming to my garage and changing their schedule every week. But I told them all up front, so it was certainly not like a surprise. And many of them are still clients. So.
Why do you think they're still clients? You have a garage that I'm sure if you could snap your fingers, you would want to soup up in a big way.
Yeah.
You had a schedule up front that was inconvenient for them, and it changed on a regular basis. Why are they still clients, in your opinion? You can it's not gloating to share what you think is happening that's making them want to still be clients. I'm very curious about that.
I mean, biggest thing, because they're getting results, because they see value in it. So I just had a 1-year anniversary with one of my first in-person clients, and he's like late 50s. He's got he's a retired Army Ranger, always has been a pretty serious cyclist, but lots of injuries, arthritis, disability from the military, all had a stroke.
Number of things he's dealing with here.
Yes. Okay. So over the year, he's gotten out of
so
hip pain and
the anniversary
things like
is with
that.
this guy?
Yeah, in March. So now he's starting to, he just was won Masters category in a bike race and came in like 5th overall.
What does that mean?
60 years old.
Oh, I see. So Masters category just means he's closer to a senior?
So it's like 50 and over. He won that, but came in 5th overall. So everyone else that he was, racing with was like, usually the guys he's racing are half his age. So he's starting to like set new power records and stuff at almost 60.
It's impressive.
So, yeah.
Okay. So for you, have you found that if you look for someone who is prioritizing results, they're more amenable to whatever needs to happen for them to achieve it?
Yeah, I think so.
The reason I say that is that's in comparison, in my opinion, to someone who is going for the experience. Do you follow what I mean? So I think that on the one hand, a client can be prioritizing the experience of the process. On the other, a client can prioritize the results of the process. Does that make sense? For example, I don't care if my workouts are fun if they're going to get me what I want from them. I think there are other people for whom it's very important for workouts to be fun.
Sure.
It sounds like the inconvenience of your garage and the inconvenience of your regularly changing schedule was not ideal from a process standpoint. But it sounds like what you were talking about with respect to results that they were going to get was enough for them to want to continue to be clients month after month after month. And a year later, you have someone like this who is transcending what he thought he might have otherwise been able to achieve.
Yeah.
So are these all people that you found were very results oriented?
I think so.
How have you gotten yourself to be able to connect around that?
I mean, I think through learning the sales process consultation, where I'm really asking the right questions or asking better questions of potential clients. And then I think too, when somebody has, when somebody has something that they're dealing with, whether it's back pain or.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no!
You could just talk into the mic. We'll figure it out. I'll straighten that for you. You can go ahead.
Then I think if somebody's dealing with pain, they're a little more likely to see the results of being able to do the things that they're not currently able to do, that they really miss, as being very valuable, as opposed to somebody who just is but somebody who really values going to CrossFit because it's fun and they have a group of people they like to work out with.
I see. So the questions that you're starting to ask are ones that are more results oriented, and that's revealing to you what's most important to them.
Yes.
And does that allow you to choose the kinds of clients that you know are going to help you not only help them, but ultimately run a successful business?
Yeah. Yeah, I think early on I probably still made some mistakes, and maybe not.
What kind of mistakes?
Maybe not being clear the full what it really honestly would take for somebody to get to where they want to be, and maybe letting people or having somebody sign up that potentially wouldn't be an ideal client. Rather than, I had a consult recently with somebody who I like very much that just wanted a program that she could do and not have to check in or anything and just do on her own. And knowing that's not what I do. And there are other people that do that. So it's okay if you don't sign up.
So you tell people not to sign up with you.
Yes.
there are people that will hear that you tell people not to sign up with you and think, well, you're crazy. That's money that you're turning away. How do you get to that point that you tell someone, don't be my client?
Are you being confident in what I offer, knowing what I offer and knowing the people that fits really well, and also knowing that maybe if somebody's not in that place, that one, it's not fair to them if they're better served by, if they're a cyclist and they want to just get stronger and they're better served by a template program that costs a lot less and that fits their life better, then they're better doing that than me signing them up for something that they don't really want or maybe even need, or they're not ready to commit to, and then not being successful.
So when we zoom out here, you went from working as an orthopedic nurse where you were handing a scalpel to a surgeon in front of whatever patient the medical system put in front of you guys in that clinic, to a full-time coach where you are deciding who you are going to work with based on whether or not you believe that client is going to be someone that you want to work with and are going to get great results for. That's a huge difference. What are some of the biggest changes that you would describe so that someone listening to this who's thinking, well, what if I could do something like that, would start to understand the differences that they would actually be signing up for? And when I say signing up for, I don't mean with Active Life. I mean, however they decided they wanted to go about a career change like that. What are some of the biggest differences you've found so that someone can really start to gather the actual contrast there?
The difference between working as a nurse and
the job you had
coaching
versus the job you have now.
I mean, I think the biggest difference is that it's up to me to, or one of the biggest differences, it's up to me to make, I am the business, to make that business work and to run. There's not somebody telling me what I need to do.
I imagine there are
each
pros
day.
and cons there for you.
There are, for sure.
What are some of those?
I get back to, there's definitely less security, less some of those standard benefits, I guess, that come with, especially working in healthcare with like.
And when you say less
healthcare.
security, you don't mean you're less financially well off now. You're in better financial position. But what you mean is it's not someone else's job to write you a paycheck no matter what.
Right.
It's your job to continue to do a great job for clients. And that's what secures your paycheck.
Yes.
Okay.
It's not just me showing up.
Right.
And it's also, I think I'm, working with people on a much closer, it's not just exercise. It's also working on lifestyle and education and mentoring them. And it isn't just about, oh, you have knee pain, here's some exercises that you should do. That so much more goes into it. Whereas being a nurse, it's just being a nurse in an ortho clinic, it's all answering people's questions. And I was really bound by I can't say as much. There's only so far I could go to help people, which is answering a question.
Well, what's the difference between what you can do now? What's the more that you can do for people now that you're describing?
I think I can help them go from a lifestyle where they feel, or a life where they might feel stuck. I'm thinking in particular, I have a client now who's in his 60s. He's got pretty bad arthritis. He wants to avoid knee replacement. He may eventually need a knee replacement, but he also has a lot of very defined beliefs about his parents were both that they had chronic disease. They had arthritis. He talks a lot about them not being able to get up and get out of a chair at some point and just, just stuck kind of sitting in a recliner, and you can't
So that's what
get
he
off
knows.
the floor.
That's what he's seen, what he knows.
So changing some of those beliefs around what it means to age, what it means to that just because your parents went down this path and just because you think that being he's only in his 60s, but like being in your 60s means that you now can't get off the floor, you can't play golf anymore because you have arthritis in your shoulder, and like changing some of those belief patterns to what might be possible and to the part that you have to play in your own health.
And
that
you enjoy helping people change their ways of thinking like that?
Yes.
Okay, so you're looking back at, let's just say yourself 18 months ago, 2 years ago. You're not only talking to that person, but you're also talking to 1,000 other people who are in old Shannon's position. You have something that your heart and your stomach yearns for in terms of a profession, the kind of ways that you want to help people. You have a position now that's by many measures okay and good, but dissatisfying to you because you feel limited in the ways that you're actually able to help people in the ways that you want. And you have this desire to be doing something that is a little bit more on your own terms so that you have a little bit more freedom around what you're doing with whom and how. What do you say to that person in the face of all the fear and the doubt that you face then?
That it is possible to do something that you love, that brings you joy, that you're passionate about. It's possible to change. You don't have to be stuck in the set career, whether it's in healthcare or something else. I think also that it was a hard thing for me, and maybe it is for somebody else, is that it doesn't, something like Active Life or ALP can give you the skills, the ability, the education to work with people in a way you want to work with, that's solving big problems without having like $40,000 invested in a master's degree, without having to become a nurse practitioner or a physical therapist. That it's possible to do something and to work for yourself, to build a business that's sustainable, that allows you to live the life that you want to live and help people without having to work for somebody else.
When you were at that, what I would love for you to leave people with is, just because I've never been in your position, and I would love for you to share when you were at that fork where you can decide, I'm going to go further down the road of a career that I'm uninterested in, or go all in on building a career that I am. What was it that decided for you that you were going to go in the direction of doing what you wanted? What was it that you either envisioned or imagined you would see, feel, have, do, be, understand? What was it that ultimately tripped the wire for you in that direction?
Thinking of all the things that could be possible. I already knew what staying in nursing would look like, and I knew I had nurses that I worked with that were 20 years older than me, and I liked them very much, but I knew that I didn't want to be in that position 20 years from now going, I hate what I do. That if you don't try, you never know. And trying may bring, now it's like, well, what comes next? And it may be, I'm opening up a facility at some point. Am I hiring other coaches? Like, there's so much that's possible. And if you just stay in the same place, then you know what's in front of you. If that doesn't excite you, then there's no reason to stay in something that you don't love. And then, when you take that step, and then it just opens up the doors to everything else that may be possible, instead of being stuck in something that you don't love because you're afraid of falling outside the lines of what you're kind of expected to do. Respect.
Shannon, I really appreciate you sharing all this. I'm excited to continue to see what that next phase looks like. And you were one step ahead of me. If you didn't volunteer some potential next steps, I was definitely going to ask, and it sounds exciting.
I think so. I have a space I'm starting to coach out of when I go back home. So.
Oh, you already have it lined up?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna
out of
start
the
to
garage.
we're gonna start to see phase 2 of this thing soon, eh? Cool.
So
Well, I'm excited to rock and roll with Seminar at you this weekend, and I appreciate again the conversation here.
thank you.
Cool.
I hope you enjoyed that episode of the Active Life podcast. If you did, please head to wherever you listen and leave us that 5-star rating. It really does go a long way. 5 stars goes a long way. Please leave them. If you're interested in working with us as a coach, remember, we help coaches from around the world build fulfilling careers, working with clients they're inspired to help so they never have to worry about being able to pay your bills again. No one's ever going to ask you if you are going to get a real job when you work with Active Life. All you have to do, head into the show notes, click the link that you find there, download our curriculum. That will give you a feel for what it is going to take for you to be successful. A team member of ours will reach out to you to find out if it's a fit for us to work together. Till the next show, turn pro.